Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to welcome President Saakashvili to the European Commission. Today we have discussed our bilateral relations, which are prospering in the past years. In particular, we have discussed the upcoming Eastern Partnership Summit in Vilnius, where we hope to initial an association agreement, including a deep and comprehensive free trade area component between the European Union and Georgia. Let me say it clearly, the European Union intends to make the Vilnius summit a success that fully reflects Georgia's efforts to associate with the European Union. This remarkable achievement will seal Georgia's political association and economic integration with the European Union. But Vilnius will only be a staging post, albeit an important one. We need to think ahead on how to sustain Georgia's important achievements over time. And indeed, during President Saakashvili terms, Georgia has achieved very remarkable progress. It's important now to be sure that this progress in Georgia, politically and economically, is consolidated further. The European Union is determined to keep supporting Georgia in its strategic transformation and in moving forward with an agenda that embraces democracy, fundamental rights and the rule of law. We believe this is the best way to ensure prosperity for all the Georgians. Our concern is precisely with the Georgian citizens, with the Georgian people, with the Republic of Georgia as a whole. We respect all the decisions made by the Georgian democracy. At the same time, it is important that we are sure that we share basically the same values in this movement of bringing closer Georgia to Europe. Reinforcing Georgia's democracy is, of course, a particular priority for us. It is vital that Georgia remains a pluralist democracy, and I assured President Saakashvili that we will remain vigilant, in particular through the work of the European Union's Special Advisor to Georgia, Mr. Thomas Hammarberg. We expect Georgia to honour its obligations, such as ensuring that the courts operate free of political influence. We are completely against any form of selective justice. I also assured President Saakashvili that the European Union remains committed to Georgia's territorial integrity within its internationally recognised borders. The European Union firmly condemns the erection of fences and barriers on Georgia's internal administrative boundaries in breach of the 2008 ceasefire commitments. These have a directly negative impact on the local populations. So, President Saakashvili, you are now leaving your office as President of Georgia, and I believe we can say that Georgia is today a more stable democracy than before. We have seen this in last weekend's presidential election. The European Union has already congratulated the President-elect of Georgia, Mr. Georgi Margvelashvili, wishing every success in fulfilling this solemn responsibility. In a moment when the term of President Saakashvili comes to an end, I would like to thank him for his public service and also his tireless work for the Georgian people, for Georgia's sovereignty, and also very especially for his friendship to the European Union. I believe this was important for Georgia and the European Union relationship. We count on your party to continue to make a constructive contribution to Georgia's political debate while in opposition. Democracy is not just being in power. Democracy is a responsibility for the power and for the opposition. Democracy is about living together in the respect of the same common values. And we wish you all the best, as we wish to the Georgian people, the authorities of Georgia, so that we can together achieve those very important objectives in the respect of the values that we believe we can share.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a tremendous honor to have paid my farewell visit to the goodbye visit to the Commission, and to you personally. I have immense gratitude to express for your personal role in safeguarding Georgia's survival after 2008 Russian invasion, your relentless support for our democracy, for our territorial integrity, and your personal passionate engagement for integrating new countries into the European fold in terms of Eastern Partnership. That's very much thanks to your energetic effort that Eastern Partnership came to existence, and that it's basically approaching now new important line and new important landmark summit in Vilnius. We certainly have discussed, and we are very grateful for the fact that we are progressing, and I strongly support initialing of the association agreement in Vilnius, and we hope that we'll have accelerated process of final signature of association agreement within the terms of this Commission next year, of course, provided, as you said, that we, as a country, comply with principles of democracy, and as you rightly said, we avoid selective justice of the instances of selective justice, which unfortunately are already taking place in my country, and with the risk of its increasing with every future period. Now, on the other hand, we also discussed and the Russian provocations. We have this occupation line all the time moving, seizing new lands from the regular Georgian citizens, menacing strategic oil pipeline that connects Azerbaijan to Europe, menacing Georgia's main highway, new Georgian development like new resorts and new seaport constructions. So these things are very worrying, and I think it's very important that you express your worry continuously, and that makes lots of difference. European Union observers that are in place play a huge role in safeguarding Georgia's further survival and their existence, as well as other things. And I told President Barroso about pressure coming from present Russian leadership to reopen railway through Georgia region of Abkhazia, that in present sense would undermine the strategic project that we already have connecting Europe to Asia through Tbilisi-Khalkhalaki railway. That railway for Abkhazia will, from our standpoint, will also contain risks, and we are coming under pressure to have it reopened. And finally, I have to mention that, of course, I'm immensely personally grateful for the work for every aspect of transformational influence that the European Union has on us. Several years ago, when I started to come to Brussels as a young president, it was way before almost 10 years ago, it was a very remote and unfamiliar place to us. Now we are coming here almost like to our house, and soon, hopefully, whatever soon means, it will become our full-fledged house, but that will take time, that will take patience, but at least we are making small first steps, but very important ones in this direction. We are looking forward to Vilnius, and I'm strongly behind this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To your questions now, I'll start with the gentleman from Radio France, please.
Oui, une question. Monsieur le Président Barroso, vous avez parlé de justice sélective. Ça veut dire que vous avez des craintes pour l'avenir de la Géorgie, ou plutôt des espoirs de bonne coopération. Et j'ai la même question pour vous, Monsieur le Président Saakashvili. Vous avez aussi parlé de justice sélective. Quel est l'avenir de la Géorgie et quel est votre avenir personnel à partir d'aujourd'hui?
Comme vous avez dit, comme Monsieur le Président a parlé de justice sélective, comme vous savez, il y a maintenant l'ex-premier ministre de la Géorgie, M. Manuel Barroso, dans cette détention préliminaire qui n'est pas nécessaire du tout si on regarde des accusations contre lui. Et la même chose avec M. Pachuakhalaya, qui est l'ex-ministre de France et l'Intérieur. Et bien sûr, si on regarde ces cas, 25 000 personnes qui sont été mises en examination ou interrogées par la justice de notre parti, les activistes de notre parti, c'est vraiment quelque chose qui est contre le principe de la démocratie, notamment après le fait que nous avons changé le pouvoir sans aucun excès et toutes les élections ont été faites de notre côté dans la situation de ouvertement et de l'esprit démocratique. Ce qui regarde mon avenir personnel, bien sûr, j'ai encore 2-3 semaines pour accomplir et finir cette terme présidentiel. J'étais président pendant 10 ans. Nous avons transformé le pays, nous avons changé tout dans ce pays. C'est vrai que le Premier ministre de la Géorgie a fait plusieurs menaces de poursuites judiciaires contre moi. Il a annoncé même des cas en avance qu'il croit que... Mais il a même expliqué ou nommé le président particulier où je dois être envoyé, c'est vrai, mais c'est à 100% la même chose que est dit par M. Poutine et M. Medvedev. M. Poutine et Medvedev, pendant toutes ces années, ont dit qu'il faut tuer le président de la Géorgie ou mettre en prison le président de la Géorgie, c'est-à-dire moi. Et la fois dernière, quand Medvedev a dit ça, c'était au mois d'août. Donc, il y a des conditions très claires. Je parle de Moscou, de normalisation avec Tbilissi. Une des conditions principales, c'est justement ça. Et c'est vrai que ce n'est pas quelque chose qui correspond aux règles de la démocratie d'annoncer en avance les choses comme ça. C'est comme la chronique d'arrestation ou de destruction de quelqu'un. Et je crois que c'est vrai quelque chose qui ne correspond pas à notre avenir européen ou démocratique. C'est contre la volonté et l'esprit du peuple géorgien et l'esprit de notre démocratie. C'est comme ça.
L'Union européenne a été très claire en ce qui concerne le besoin de respecter le procès de la loi et le respect de la loi dans toutes sortes d'enquêtes de nature criminelle. Donc le principe du respect de la loi, c'est essentiel. Et nous avons non seulement fait des déclarations publiques, moi-même, quand j'ai reçu ici le Premier ministre Ivanishvili, je lui ai dit clairement quelle était notre position et nous avons été en contact aussi, la haute représentante, Madame Ashton et le commissaire Füle, avec les autorités géorgiennes sur cette question. Nous continuerons à regarder les développements dans ce domaine de façon très attentive et très proche. La question essentielle est de vérifier si les poursuites judiciaires sont ou pas conduites dans le respect absolu de la règle de droit et sans motivation politique. Nous espérons que le gouvernement de la Géorgie va mettre en place les recommandations du rapport de Thomas Hammerberg. Nous savons que le peuple de la Géorgie a déjà à maintes reprises exprimé l'idée de regarder toutes ces questions, les questions de l'héritage politique qu'il y a en Géorgie, sans mettre en risque le futur, l'avenir de ce pays. Donc, pour être encore plus concret, je peux vous dire la chose suivante. Nous savons que parfois, dans la Géorgie, c'est une démocratie en transition, il y a une très grande polarisation entre gouvernement et opposition. Nous comprenons cela. Mais c'est dans l'intérêt fondamental de la Géorgie, de tous les Géorgiens, que les problèmes politiques soient résolus par des voies politiques, par des élections. Maintenant, il y a eu des élections. Il y a un nouveau président, il y a un nouveau Premier ministre. C'est essentiel en démocratie que les conflits politiques soient résolus par voie politique et pas par la voie judiciaire. La voie judiciaire, ce qui est au domaine judiciaire. À la politique, ce qui est la politique. Bien sûr, s'il y a des fondements pour avoir des enquêtes judiciaires, elles peuvent avoir lieu si il n'y a pas une motivation politique et si tout le procès de droit est respecté. Et ça, pour nous, c'est une question essentielle. Et j'aimerais dire ça, d'ailleurs, pour tous les Géorgiens, pour qu'ils comprennent que la Commission européenne et l'Union européenne en tant que telle, nous ne devons pas exprimer une position pour un parti ou un autre parti. Nous travaillons avec les leaders élus par le peuple géorgien. Ça, c'est notre position. Notre intérêt, notre responsabilité est devant tout le peuple géorgien et la République de la Géorgie. C'est là que nous avons le respect. En même temps, bien sûr, nous demandons à la République de la Géorgie de respecter intégralement ce principe pour qu'on puisse avoir un rapport de confiance et pour qu'on puisse avancer dans les domaines tellement importants qui sont l'association politique, les accords commerciaux, la libéralisation des visas, tout ce qui peut rendre l'avenir de la Géorgie plus prospère, plus libre. C'est ça notre objectif.
And the second question goes to the gentleman from Euronews, please.
President Barroso, since it's probably the last meeting with President Saakashvili, what do you think is the most important legacy for Europe? And Mr. Saakashvili, would you consider progress in Vilnius as your legacy?
I think you gave partially the answer. In fact, President Saakashvili has, during his terms in office, has given a great contribution to closer relationship between the European Union and Georgia, for the modernization of his country and for this closer relationship, in fact, giving very important contribution to this process of bringing Georgia closer to the European Union. In the economic field, that's why we are also considering further steps in trade, but also in political field in terms of building a democracy. And I believe that the fact that now there is another Prime Minister, another President that are not of the political color of President Saakashvili, in a way, it's also a tribute to him, if I may say so, because it shows that it is possible in a new democracy like Georgia have some change in power. I'm not so sure that in all the countries that we have relations with, this is possible, because typically the governments tend to always win elections, the governments or the presidents. Georgia has shown that it is possible. Let's hope now that the new power will also show the same, let's say, commitment to pluralist democracy, because this is the democracy that we know. I don't know any democracy that is not pluralistic. This was certainly a contribution. So the work is far from finished, I have to say. There are concerns that remain. We have just expressed some of them. But I believe that Georgia today is much better than 10 years ago. Georgia today is a more modern country, a country that is closer to the neighbors, like the European Union, and wants to engage in this modernization process. A lot has still to be done. And that is why, once again, I want to send a message to all the Georgians, those in the government, those in the opposition. This is a national task. In democracy, it's only normal that there are different views. What is not normal is that these views are so polarized that political adversaries become enemies. It is important that we solve political problems through political means, democratic means. I think President Saakashvili has given a very important contribution to that. I know, if I may say so, that sometimes the controversial leader, but that's the point in democracies. In democracies, when one makes a choice, we cannot have all the time the support of everybody, and we win and you lose. That's normal. But the point is, when looking in, let's say, a strategic perspective, you can see that Georgia today is stronger, more modern, hopefully more democratic. Let's now keep the work to make Georgia closer to the European Union. That is certainly our interest, and I believe it's the interest of the Georgian people.
I think President Barroso expressed it as in his wonderful style, absolutely brilliantly, as always. So, but you know, I made my farewell address to the nation yesterday from Presidential Palace in Tbilisi, and I asked them, ask yourself, is Georgia a better country now than 10 years ago? Well, I didn't hear any answers, so I left for Brussels, but now President Barroso is giving me that answer that it is. So from the side, it's visible, especially from Brussels' side, it's visible always better. Brussels was always more careful and skeptical in assessing but now we have really good cooperation, and it's amazing how the Commission also will transfer under his leadership in our direction. You know, from somebody coming from Portugal, it wasn't natural to look to the east. Although, on the other hand, it's a small country, it understands another small country better. But going back to the issue, is it a better country? It is, because we had several European Union surveys which make lots of sense. And the European Union survey said that Georgia was the least corrupt country in Europe, or one of the least corrupt, depending upon the years. Fair enough, thanks to the changes we made. European Union survey showed that we were the safest country, well, at least until last year, in Europe, safer than Iceland. Again, a big achievement. The European Union and the World Bank just published a survey where we are number 8 in terms of World Bank ease of doing business. And when I became president, we were 137th. Where, by the way, our friends from Russia are now. Now we are number 8. I'm living at number 8, from 137 to number 8. No country had ever done such transformation. And of course, when you do such transformations, you have to be very controversial, very, very controversial in order to get there. But it's true that I'm tremendously grateful for that all these things could not be possible without transformational role of European institutions. When we were doing things to convince people, we also have to indicate where we are going. We had clear strategic direction, which basically appeal to our people. You can only do big transformation if people are behind that, and that's what Europe does for us. And now, what also Georgia did, we tried to change our country, but I now can openly and proudly say that somehow inadvertently we changed post-Soviet world, because we established new rules of the game in terms of fighting corruption, in terms of fighting crime, in terms of changing our economy, but also in terms of changing powers, as President Barroso brightly said, moving from one very radical group, a radical different group, to another group, very diametrically opposed group. Just President, we gave first example, at least in our part of the world, of really more or less efficient cohabitation, and basically and continuation of democracy. And we are the first example as well in all these post-Soviets, except of course Baltic countries, where former ruling party didn't disappear or become very weak. We had very strong second place in last 2 days ago in elections. It's just another big precedent. So we are precedent setters. And so maybe what we have in the future, some other precedents to set. So we are not saying, we are not giving up. We'll continue to, to fight for not only for final European integration of our country, but for final establishment of Georgian democracy. On my chest, I always have these words of Winston Churchill that say, together with my cross, it says basically, never, 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 ever give up. And so we'll never, never, never give up on Europe. And in the end, we will make it, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This press point is now closed. Thank you all for coming.